Please remain standing for a moment of silence.
Please remember the 8 firefighters and the 11 police officers that were killed on the line of duty since our last board meeting.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. We'll start our meeting this evening with the regular business. Let's see, Chief, is there any public forum? Any comments from the public?
No one's taken out a pink card and would like to address the board, so no.
Okay. Consent agenda. We've got 2 items: the minutes from the regular meeting and the executive session minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Next up is the financial report and updates with Finance Director Gabe Boldre.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, you, I got one. Is that Bill's?
Bill probably likes to talk about it.
Yeah, Bill likes to talk. Oops, throwing that. You have the financial report in your packet now. I apologize for the delays. We finally got Yavapai statements yesterday. So we're able to actually post the revenue and actually get accurate statements out this month compared to last month. All the expenses and all our non-levy revenues were recorded last month. We were just missing the Yavapai property tax revenue, which is obviously our largest percentage of revenue. So for the month of October, you'll see our property tax revenue was $5,562,034. We did shoot off a positive variance of about $200,000 for the month of October. One thing I will point out is the way they were able to get us the statements, they haven't yet broken it out by month. So that includes September and October's revenue posted in that $5.5 million in October. So what I did, instead of going back and restating September, as well as the statements they sent don't have it broken out, I just combined it all in for October's revenue and reconciled to that. Non-levy revenue, $269,752. We were over budget by $75,000. The largest percentage of that being related to ambulance. Ambulance has been trending over budget not only from a month-over-month basis, but year to date as well. Personnel expenses under budget at $916,843, predominantly due to some vacancies and some savings we're seeing in positions that are in step up compared to the people that were originally budgeted in those positions. Vehicles and equipment under budget at $40,091. Utilities and communications almost came in right in line with budget at $24,290. Managerial was $91,492, and our capital expenditure was $22,395, and that was related to debt service payments. Year to date, total revenue $6,658,965. We are under budget by $382,000, and all of that variance is related to property tax timing on property tax collection. As I mentioned before, we are trending over budget on our non-levy revenues, especially on ambulance and wildlife.
I guess that was.
That's just to make sure everybody's paying attention.
I'm awake.
So what we are trending under on is property tax on the revenue side. On the expense side, you'll see our total expenses year to date are $4,960,000, which is under budget by $526,000. We are actually trending under budget really in all categories. And as you can see across the board there, the reason capital is showing over by $85,000 because there were some capital expenses that obviously are coming out of the capital fund, but we're reporting the expense so the board can see what we are spending from a capital standpoint on the operating fund. But those monies are coming out of our capital dollars. And so there's not a budgeted capital amount in the operating fund portion of the budget. It's all been moved over to the capital. Percentage of expense to this point, we've expended 31% of the budget. leaving 69% remaining for the next 8 months of the budget. Percentage of expense, personnel being the highest at 83, followed by operations at 7, managerial at 6, and capital and contingency at 4%. Finally, year-over-year cash position, you could see we ended the month compared to last year with cash up by just under 400,000. And our other assets you see have decreased from 1.1 million to 921,000. The biggest reason for that was our receivable on ambulances is less this month than it was last year this same time. And then a small change in our current liabilities, but nothing significant. Unless there's any other questions, that concludes the finance report.
Just a quick question on the percentages of expenses year to date. It looks like personnel is at 83%. It seems like it's a few percentage points higher. Is that because we combined two periods, or has that been the norm? It seems like it's a little bit high.
Yeah, we are around the 80 to 85. We kind of usually stay within that range. We don't go much higher than 85. So the reason is it's just our overall expenses, we just are less as well. So that's why, but personnel is staying pretty consistent. If you go back to our other slides here, you'll see we're under budget by all of our other expenses as well. So, but our personnel, we always are going to have. Whereas right now, we're not having the vehicle maintenance costs, or we're not spending money on projects yet. So as we start spending money in other areas, that percentage for personnel will start to drop.
Is there a wildland component to that as well, or no?
No, let's just look at it operating. So, any other questions?
No. Any other questions for Gabe? Okay.
All right.
Then with that said, I'll need a motion to approve the financials for the month of October, correct?
Yeah, I'll move to approve finance report for October 2018 as submitted.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Finance report is approved. Okay, next on the agenda, that brings the chief up for your chief's monthly report.
Board, thank you. So the chief's report is posted. You will see the call summary here. We're trending for EMS calls about the same. Rescue and EMS overall, year to date, we're about 4 calls off. What's interesting in that is, and even the inner facilities is off by 1, so we're trending pretty tight there. But the backcountry rescue is up about 50%. So just doing some quick math, we've had 115 rescues year to date. So year to date on 10 months, that's about 11 rescues a month. So essentially each shift is going on 1 rescue, a tour. So one every 2 days. It's up 50%. So there is a sizable uptick in that. And we realize that and see that on the operations side. Not to a point to where we're not able to handle calls or do anything. The realization, though, is that those don't come once a tour. That would be nice if we got the one done and we knew that was finished and we didn't have another one coming. It is constantly, there's 3 in one day, 4 in another, 2 the next. I think last shift, last tour, Cochran said they had 6 rescues in their tour. So, and then we won't have anything for a week or whatever, and things like that. And so it just continues to be. I know we had a rescue back here on the mountain, and a lot of social media popping on a rescue over there. I'm guessing Dave might have been part of that. I'm not sure if you were at night in the evening there.
I have been on. We had one on Bell Rock, but I'm not so sure.
No, this is on Thunder Mountain. We had one, just helicopter searchlights, all kinds of stuff, and then we weren't even on that one. So Yavapai County was able to handle that one, but people on the social media were questioning that. So it's a team effort by all of us. It's definitely had an uptick, and I don't know if Dave, you have seen that on the Yavapai County Search and Rescue stats as well.
Yeah, it's the question I have for you on that though is when you take the hours, the time on scene for those backcountry rescues versus the normal ones that we go on to within our district.
Mm-hmm.
Huge difference.
Oh, certainly. Jordan's here. I mean, I don't know, what the average number of people are on a call. It's 5 or 6. Sometimes it's 7 or 8. Sometimes it's 10 or 12. And we did a pretty big one up at the Overlook. This, it's not in these stats. I believe it was actually in this month. not in the month of October. But, you know, that was Highlands Fire Us, and, you know, woman fell about 5 stories and
Right.
things like that. Read about that in the paper. Some are more labor intensive and some are not, but we go to a house fire, we'll spend 7, 8, 9 hours there too with 10, 11, 12, 14, 18, 20 people on those fires, on those calls too. But the-
Chief, I'm curious, in terms of those backcountry, are they mostly hikers who have fallen, or does some involve biking?
It is
people?
hiking, biking, medical,
I'm just,
fall, trip, slip,
Yeah.
dehydrate, what else?
do you have any
Lost.
sense of are bikers beginning to have a lot of our backcountry needs?
Yeah, we just had one the other day on Bell Rock, the one I think that Board Member Konarski was asking me about. We conversed a little bit about that, but I think the biking is just as busy. I'm sure that there's more hikers than there are bikers, that's for sure. But accident-wise, it's kind of hit or miss. I would say we definitely have more hikers than bikers that are injured, for sure. And I don't know the number, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, I don't know. That's, most of the stuff we do is hiking. And then the last piece about that, there was something I was gonna say. The frequency of all the other calls we have, you know, so while they may be quicker, as you mentioned, and only to involve, you know, 5 people for this time and 2 that continue to the hospital or whatever those 3,000 transports are, that eats up a lot of time too, you know. We're driving, you know, an ambulance turn just down to Verde Valley is 2.5 hours, you know, by the time you pick the patient up, treat, transport, restock, clean the ambulance, return back. So that, at 3,000 times a year, that's a lot of man hours too. So it's not, those numbers aren't extraordinary. We'll talk a little bit about that as we look at the tourism report later on in the presentation. The rest of it here, you look at, certainly at the end of the day, we're running about 50 calls more, 50 more calls for the year or so, maybe a little bit less than that. So not trending considerably higher than we'd expect. I thought we'd be a little bit higher based upon earlier in the year. We were trending much more, and I guess the law of averages, we get to about where we are. The important part is looking down at that 90th percentile. So I bet Mrs. Cooperman might have noticed that. All right, you want to ask a question before I talk, or you just want me to talk?
No, please talk about, including the one right below it.
So, you know, you know, just doing all the work that we do, that average response time, it is an average. It's a great metric to look at if you just want to look at that number, and it's something we all know about, right? The average whatever, average age, average salary, average whatever. But really, it just says that half the people are above here and half the people are there. The response times half are there and the other half are down there. That 90th percentile means that 90% of the time we got to those calls, in this case, was 9 minutes and 50 seconds. I think it's due to a couple things. So one would be the location of calls, time of day that we had those emergency responses. That's just what it is. And so sometimes we have that 5 or 6 calls that month that happen to be really far away that create a long response time for us, and that skews the numbers. And so there's part of that. We have not studied this number to tell you why this exactly is. This is just off the cuff stuff. But we've been working pretty hard, working with our battalion chiefs and our captains to work on response times and understanding the data, and we've been sharing the response data with them in a new way for them to see. And we look at each shift and each station and each, you know, the battalion chiefs are looking at it from their battalion and starting to look and say, wow, there is this one shift that seems, or one station and one shift or whatever, why are there times like it is or whatever, and trying to improve those response times from a understanding. And I don't know if that's, I got a battalion chief and a captain here, but that is, you know, fairly accurate. You feel like you know, not that we weren't doing a bad job, but we're just more aware of it and trying to be. So sometimes we look at things and go, wow, I didn't realize we were doing that. You know, our station, well, before we leave, you know, we all blink our eyes twice and, you know, scratch our head. We could stop that and just go and save 3 seconds. That's important, that type of thing. And so we're doing that type of stuff, and it's been an ongoing process. Cannot guarantee that the next 2 boxes in this month will continue to go down at that pace. Could certainly go up about wherever those calls are.
Yeah, but nonetheless, it's very good to see. And while that average is just an average, it is the average that the National Fire Safety uses to have districts measure up against. So it's beautiful to see that it's
Definitely.
618.
Absolutely. So responses by stations, as I say, every month, it looks about the same distribution because that's how we have calls. It's very much the same, pretty much all the time, is what I estimate anyway. Incidents by time of day continues to trend that, you know, that middle of the day time, we're pretty busy around 3 o'clock, and that's when we peak. And so that's good information to know. Community Risk isn't here. He's enjoying some family time in Oregon, but just sends his regards to all and to those that are having their last board meeting today, sends his love. Inspections are going well. We're doing good stuff there. I don't have much to say about that unless you've got a question that I probably won't be able to answer. We did submit a grant for AFG, as we talked about last month at our board meeting. We submitted a $348,500 grant for 85 mobile radios. That's portable handhelds radios. So we'll see in the next 6-7 months if we get that. There is a match of almost $17,000. It's a 5% match. And we're just not finding many more grants out there that are non-matching grants. So I mean, they're out there once in a while. We've got the Firehouse Subs grant that we got for all the jackets for $26,000. That was a non-matching grant. We were just about to get our jackets from that, so we're excited as the weather's cold. We could bundle up and keep warm and look good, be safe. When we look at the training information here, we've just doing a lot of training. We've actually kind of refocused our training module and how we're doing some training. We spent a lot of time working on hose management, and so we did about a 5-part series, I think it was, where we trained all of our folks, and it was culminating down at the training center where we got folks down there and putting all the other 4 modules together into evolutions and working to manage the hose line and operations on the fire ground better, safer, and a lot of that's to do with consistent training, consistent language, and anything else in there that we really worked on there? It's kind of my estimation. And the last 3 shifts just got done today. You may have seen C shift at the training. I think it was C shift with their pink shirts on. It looked pretty tough. Thanks for taking that photo op. That was cool. And I think that's the training is, you know, pretty much the typical stuff. So you see that as is. A nice $300 donation, I believe we get every year from some foundation out of like New Jersey or somewhere that somehow sends us a nice donation. There's a thank you in here as it relates to the woman who fell the 5 stories. Last weekend, I guess it was. So Assistant Chief Coyle went up and visited her in the hospital, brought some flowers from the fire district, and said thank you she said thank you. We said thank you for surviving, and she was very, very grateful, and thank you for all the efforts and the work that was done there. And interesting to see on Facebook how that has kind of changed a little bit, right? So we post a video we put together, certainly have no indication of who anyone is or anything of that nature. And then someone invariably is now getting on. This has happened multiple times. Oh my gosh, that's my sister, you know, Heidi or whatever. And then they tag Heidi, and then now someone knows who she is. We didn't violate any rules or anything, but you know, then they get on and say, hey, thank you so much for saving my life. And it's an interesting change in our business because it really humanizes it to, you know, then you can click on their name and see what they're all about, right? When they're not hanging from a rope somewhere at the bottom of a hill or picking them up. And, you know, it just gives you a little life connection. So thank you card with some pretty flowers on it from like the holiday Thanksgiving stuff here. Trisha got an email saying thanks. We should send it to her. Not to Trisha though. We had to change some smoke detector batteries, and then and that's pretty much it. I will say that our folks just got back from California. We sent 2 Type 6s to California. They were not there as long as 14 days, or there maybe 7, something like that. And so they did come back safely, as most all, if not all of the other Arizona Fire Service members did. And they worked at the Woolsey fire, not the Camp fire, but the Woolsey fire, which was in the southern end, and did some good stuff there. And as typical for Sedona Fire, we were engaged at we're in the thick of all kinds of good stuff because we got a lot of great people that are trained and ready to work, and they went to work.
Chief, just a note is, as a result of them attending these fires, and these are some horrific, historic fires, is there gonna be any overview as to what our involvement was for us to see, or the public to see, or,
I tried to get Ron to do the article, he said no. You know, they just got back, and I don't know, like, where we were, what we were doing, if there was any stories that are newsworthy, and that's someone shaking his head back there, maybe there were, so we need to connect that, you know, and finish that story. Or Ron's got to nudge us and say, hey, what do you guys do? And then they'll tell them, and then he'll make a cool story. And so, great question. So we'll get on that lickety-split. I think that's a word, lickety-split. A couple other things upcoming. I'm going to go over the edge again for Special Olympics. So I think it's December 8th. I'll be rappelling off of a 415-foot building, and raising money for that right now. If anyone's, thank you. I believe Mr. McCarthy may have donated. I think that's, if I missed anyone else, I did donate. Thank you. But that's with the Sedona Police Department, us, and the school district, in trying to help Special Olympics. So kind of a police thing that they do, the Special Olympics stuff. Just trying to partner up with them, and yeah, maybe see me as Spider-Man this year. We'll see. I had so much fun in my
You be
Spider-Man
careful
suit.
going down that side, and I mean, don't leave any scuff marks. on
Yeah,
the building.
yeah, it's a good time. You may notice that there's a bunch of people around here wearing mustaches that don't normally wear mustaches. I mean, a lot of them do anyway, but there's No Shave November, or what's it called again? Movember. Sorry, my brain's tired. So we've got a contest internally to see which one's got the best mustache, and so we're all competing for that grand prize of something like a new Bic pen or something, or a paper clip, or we got some phenomenal prizes, I think. Yeah, but the winner will still get to claim the gold paperclip award or something. So if you see guys in some cool stashes, say hi and smile. Toys for Tots, we're collecting again for Toys for Tots. We'll be at the Safeway and Clark's in the Village, I believe, collecting toys. And I want to say December 12th. I'm totally 15th. I was close. So we'll be out there doing that for the community, and we've been very, very successful in collecting toys, as well as cash donations. And the Toys for Tots group through the Marine Corps League are very appreciative for that. There's certainly a toy collection box at the front desk. You're welcome to come by Monday through Thursday, drop off a gift or toys unwrapped. And if you do so, Jody will try to grab a picture or two, and we'll try to get some postings of those donations. Currently, the box is empty, and I think we're just thinking about Thanksgiving. And once we're through there, I'm sure we'll start to get our staff and all the people. We have contests between the shifts to see what shift can bring in the most toys and things like that. So we're a little competitive, if you can't tell. So with that, I don't think there's anything else. Don't forget January 12th, there'll be an employee appreciation dinner, POCO. So mark your calendars for that. We certainly will look to see our two retired board members if they're so interested in hanging out with us after this last meeting here or not. But if we can drag you back for a meal, we'd love to see you. So that's the 12th of January. I don't have anything else on my chief's report unless there's any other questions.
nope, anybody? Nope, if you're complete there, Chief, we'll move right along to the next one, which happens to be the discussion, information, disposal of surplus property, Type 3 engine.
Certainly. So the Type 3 engine, we talked about, we've got a new one on order and everything already, but it's time to get this one surplus. So if we can get it on the auction site and get it out there, see if someone wants to get it and try to do their work to fix it up or whatever they want to do with it. But it's in significant disrepair, and the operation of it is not worth us to fix it. We've talked about this already in the past. So currently the board policy that you recently approved through the finance policies, we do not need to ask for permission for disposal of surplus. I believe in an item like this, just being a large piece of equipment, a parcel, things like that, we want to just let you know we're doing it. So this would be the time now. If one of you said we shouldn't do it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just telling you we're going to put it on the surplus site and dispose of it as in accordance with Arizona state law. So going once, going twice, sold. Okay. Board, next, go ahead.
Let's see here, next one up is discussion presentation on the analysis of tourism and impacts to the SFD budget.
Okay, board, so since my arrival and probably since the beginning of time, there's always been a question, somewhat of what, kind of related to what Clerk Cooperman asked about, the rescues, which are the most prolific and take the most time and catch everyone's attention so much. It's all tourists, and they're all ill-prepared, and they all don't know what they're doing, and we're wasting our taxpayer dollars to save them. And we should charge them, and we should have stupid hiking laws, and we should, all the great things. All sound wonderful and good. None of
I
those.
just want to make sure, I didn't allude to that.
I didn't, I'm sorry, I should
Okay,
not have,
just
I
wanted to
didn't,
make
I
sure
stopped
about
short
that.
of your
All
questioning
right.
on the number of rescues. The
I
rest of
think
it was all me.
great.
It was all me.
Our tourists are wonderful.
Quote,
Okay, please
So,
go on.
So I wanted to know about this because I think it's interesting. I don't know what the outcome is and how our levy is created as it relates to tourism. And it's actually out of my ability to actually calculate that without either spending way too much time or maybe not even having the skill set to do that type of calculation. So working with Gabe and working with Dave Leibowitz, who is our PR firm currently. They both came up with rounds. That's who you want to use. That's the economic study, the people that do all this kind of work. So we contacted them and we engaged a study with them to try to answer this question. And so we have found out that essentially because of tourism, 54% of our levy and revenue is attributed to tourism. And I would say a generous estimate is that 25% of our call volume is driven by tourists. So I guess the chicken and the egg question is that we are not subsidizing tourists, but tourists have some subsidy to us as the residents.
And I'm curious about that, in reading the report, that 50% that comes from tourism. Is that because of the commercial, how is that so?
So I have a finance guy who's going to answer that. I mean, I'm prepared to, but he asked if he could have a moment to speak, so I want to give it to him.
Mrs. Cooperman, I'm not an economist, but I could speak to this a little bit. And so, what Rounds Group did is they developed a rather complex economic modeling that looked at the different impacts that tourism has on the economy, both direct, indirect, and induced. And through that analysis, what they looked at is we would see, if we didn't have tourism in the industry, we would see loss of jobs, we would see loss of income earned, we would see loss of commercial property and value of commercial properties. And so through that modeling they did, they were able to quantify if Sedona didn't have tourism within its industry, within its area, what would that impact be on the local economy? And so all of those factors are where they derive that 54% reduction.
So a non-economist, non-financial expert might have just said, "Hey, let me look at the commercial properties, parcels, look at their tax base, and then which ones are hotels, which are pretty much 99% going to be tourism based, and then how do we look at the bike rental shop and the slingshot place with the little cool cars that they drive around up and down, and the ATV stores and whatever all those pieces are." Very complex for someone like me. They have a model that they use, and they figure out how much of that can be attributed to all of that and how much is attributed to the grocery store, let's say, that maybe is a good chunk of actually probably visitors, but certainly we as residents use that too. They have a proprietary formula of sorts, if you will. I don't, that's as I understood it. There's a mathematical economic way to look at all that. And then that residual piece that we all benefit from, seeing our property values and where they would be at with or without tourism, and attributing all of that. So looking at it as a global versus a micro, hey, well, here's what all the hotels and all the restaurants pay, and take some percentage thereof for restaurants because we all eat. So this was a pretty high level look, and not drilling down to every single, nook and cranny or dividing it out by 10 different ways. As you asked earlier, those are more Those rescues are more labor intensive. You know, we could have looked at this and said, let's drill down and find how many hours we spend on residents versus non-resident and figure that out. That, we didn't pay them enough for that part of the study. I don't know that we need to. I think this report gives me a confidence to say that we can clearly say that the tourism industry benefits us all. And what's really important when I say benefits us all, we as a fire district with 5 stations strategically located throughout our community, providing 25 people on duty a day. 21's our minimum. I want to be clear on that. Don't want to get misquoted somewhere. But you know, plus the fire prevention staff, the administrative staff, and all the people that go with it, make this, you know, this whole process go. The equipment we have, the training we get, all that stuff would not be here at the level in which it is here if it wasn't for those tourists providing that 54%. So if we took that away, we'd have to either pay a lot more as residents to make that level of service exist, or we wouldn't have that level of service. And so if 75% of the times we're using this service and having those equipment and pieces of equipment nearby and the well-trained people we have, that I think was really eye-opening to me, to be able to quantify that in a way to realize it's not just the dollars and cents and those percentages we talk about. It's the fact that when I'm having a medical emergency or my house is on fire, I'm going to get a lot more than I would get if we didn't have tourism. And we've done this talk a bunch of times without this context. We've done that slide at Station 3 5 years ago when I said, hey, if you live here in this district in our region, you get 2 stations with 5 guys on duty, you know, or 6 guys on duty or whatever. And you look at our system, we pay less in taxes than all of the other districts, right? Based on our mill rate and all that, right? And we have so much more. Why is that? It's because of the tourism, and I can say that now because we have a report from a third-party economist that does this for a living, and I'm pretty confident that, well, it's just cool to know where the chicken and the egg are. I don't know, we know that now, and I'm happy with the report. It makes sense to me. It's at a level which we all can read it and understand it. If we wanted to really drill down, we would have to engage at a much higher level cost report and things like that to get whatever more details you may want as a board. But I think the public, and I'm sure they'll hear it because our lovely Ron Eland is here and listening to this, taking feverish notes I could see right out of my left ear. It's kind of neat. I don't know. I just found it interesting study, and this is what these folks do. So I don't know if I got any other highlights to leave for you. I'm just looking at the additional considerations. You know, he noted that, you know, the district having ambulances and the $2 million we bring in, you know, revenue through our ambulance service and how important that is to the overall operation and the readiness that we have. He just identified that as a concern, and that he ended with saying residents benefit from higher quality services at a lower cost because of the added economic activity brought to the fire district by the tourism industry. So
Gene,
I hope
you have
that's
something?
helpful.
When I first came on board, I think I had a conversation with you, Chief, and my concern was about bed tax.
Sure.
And I believe it's 5.5% in this area. But I read this report in depth, and I read it again, and it certainly satisfies my concern. The way it's explained here. And again, I kind of look at it as job security with tourism and so on, but with bed tax and what have you. I did my research. I couldn't find any other departments or districts and what have you that tapped the bed tax to augment their income. So thank you for this report.
Certainly. And just as a point of clarification, you know, as a district, we don't have any legal authorities to, you know, while the question is great, there are fire departments that work in a municipality that have taken bed tax and done things like that, even in the state of Arizona, and have identified, hey, we're going to take up 1% of all bed tax and allot it to the fire department or police department for public safety or whatever they're doing. But because they're a government, a city government that has the legal authority to tax the bed tax, we do not as a fire district, and so that's why we're not able to do that. If we wanted to do that, that's a considerable legal action and lobbying and legislative fixes to make that happen. And so, but knowing what, so we did some talking yesterday or today, I don't know what it was, it all runs together. But we're building now, we're gonna build, not we, we're not building it, the Residence Inn is gonna go up over here. We've got the large hotel in the village going up. I didn't look at the taxes of what the Marriott, last time I looked at the Marriott, their tax bill is not online yet. It takes so long for it to get on the tax rolls. But I gotta imagine that the number of tax dollars we get from, the Days Inn or Adante Inn now, whatever it's called, and Courtyard for Marriott, we're not running to hotels on a daily basis, it's a couple of the resorts we do go to more frequently on the resorts, it seems like, but the hotel. So we're bringing in 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 in tax revenue from these buildings that are gonna be coming in, and I'm just guessing at those numbers, but our impact is not gonna be an $80,000 impact to our response model. Those are, we're looking at 600 homes down the street. We're trying to do some math the other day, and I can't do it, so I won't even get the numbers right, but they're looking at 600 or 700 homes down the road. Highly contentious, talk about traffic, talk about all those things. Response, capabilities, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you put 600 or 700 new homes in our district, that's a significant amount of revenue to the fire district. To provide more services or enhance our services, or to possibly even look at that and say, hey, if our AV goes up this much more, we can lower the mill rate, right? We still have to levy the same number, but if more people are paying it, your taxes may actually go down or stay stable, or whatever could happen in that year, or whatever. So there's just a give and take of relationship and all the things that are happening in our community, and everyone has a different vantage point. So me as a citizen might not want another hotel because it's in my backyard or it's whatever. Me as a fire chief might say, wow, put another building up there because that's another $50,000 for revenue for the fire district, and I bet we'll spend $5,000 to make that happen, through our emergency responses, maybe 20,000, but we're still on the right side of that equation. And then maybe, and then as a driver on the roads, I don't want more people. So we all have different lanes we're in. I'm just giving you the financial one and how it relates to the things that are happening here, so.
Well, it's really interesting, and thank you for doing that. I've always felt as a citizen that our tourists, because they're here, we have better quality restaurants, we have more trails because of the money they pay to park, and now we've learned that we have better fire service because of their presence.
Well, you have better fire service, you have, that's a trickle down, right? So whatever the library's doing, whatever the college is doing, and that's a whole other touchy subject for folks at the college here, but I'm just saying, like, everything gets risen because of that in Sedona. So, anyway, that was one of the special projects I really wanted to tackle, and I'm glad that we got that done and got it to you, and I wanted to get it to you, so here it is.
Thank you, Chief, I appreciate that, and it does put it to rest in that, did we have an obligation to look into that bed tax of sorts to augment our income or our incoming monies, and so without the lengthy legislative process, we really don't.
It would be more revenue if we could do it,
Yeah.
and we wanted to do it. That would mean that would be additional and more revenue on top of it. This just at least helps the people that think we're supplanting or we're supplementing all the tourists, and they're getting a free ride, and they pay 100%. They need an ambulance, they pay 100% of the cost, and we as residents do not, and things like that. So there are different things, but the bed tax is just a whole another animal, and it's sticky.
Well, thank you
That's
again
not a
for
quote, by the way.
the
Sticky
time
is
on
not a
this.
quote. Don't do that to me.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, unless there's any other questions on that one, discussion possible action, status of Fire Chief Chris Kazian's pending resignation and direction to staff on recruitment process.
So, board, thank you again. It's hopefully not my turn to talk much longer. I'll be leaving Sedona Fire District, sadly. January 11th will be my last day. I will make the party on the 12th, just saying. But if invited, I should say. I've opted for a new adventure in my life. I'll be going to Windsor Severance Fire Rescue. It's near Fort Collins, Colorado. I'll be beginning there on the 14th of January as their fire chief. It'll give my family and I a chance to live together again and experience a new state, a new adventure. And it's a good thing for my family, and it's a good thing for me professionally. I think it's a really good thing for Sedona Fire District. And as much as I've talked to each one of you in different ways, I really, really appreciate the kind words and things you said. And I'll give my farewell speech at another day. But I've got a board member here who hired me, and I just think it's important to share a couple of these pieces today. And I'll go into more depth if you let me some other day. But we've done a lot of work here in 7 years, and you know, you saw something in me, I guess. January of 2012, some kid in a tux or something, I think I look like. Most people remember that picture. I'm trying to forget it. You could bring it back like a retro. Maybe do like a before and after, like a presidential year thing. You can see I'd probably look the same. And I was given a chance, and I really appreciate that a lot. It was a big decision to make the move here and expand my horizons and try something new. And based upon the kind words I've heard from many of you, I've met the mark for many of you. I may not have met the mark for everybody, it appears, but that's okay. Can't please everybody. I'm excited for Sedona Fire. If I was really worried that Sedona Fire was in a place where we were not going to be successful, it would make my decision, whether personal or not, incredibly difficult, and to the point that if it wasn't going to be successful, I would struggle leaving Sedona Fire due to my passion for this place, this community. But I don't have that fear. We have an incredible team ready to go and do anything and conquer all, and they do an amazing job each and every day. And we're going to find another Fire Chief Jones that's going to do amazing things, because we already set the table for success. I mean, that's on you guys to hire the right person. I'm just little pressure there. But other than that, we're going to get the right candidates to the table for you. They're out there, and we've done hard work, and our name in the community, in the region, in the state, in the country is, you know, it's a good place to be. And so I suspect we'll, you know, recruit some high talent. You'll have some hard decisions to make, and I don't doubt for a second that when the dust settles, you're going to be in a great place. No different than in 2000 and late 11 and 12 when Chief Azime left, and some people felt that was, you know, how we're going to replace him, you know. And here I come along and figured it out. The next guy or girl is going to figure it out. So that's my story for where I'm at in my resignation. You know, I'm giving you my notice. My contract asked for 60 days. I'm giving you 57 plus the month I gave you this warning it was probably coming. Unless there's a problem with January 11th, I'm packing my bags and going.
Next item?
I'm good. We don't need anything else. I don't need.
I'm wondering if you have an extra room there that, you know, you could get.
Not right now. I've got a small townhouse, but we'll see. Guess I'm gonna buy my house in Phoenix, and we'll see what I can land.
And you're not taking any vacation in between?
Not planning on much of it. I mean, I got to move the family out there right after Christmas. We'll take a jaunt, and there'll be a couple days there. And I mean, there's a lot of work to do here. I'm sure I'll get a day here or there somewhere, because I got to actually, I guess, pack or something. I don't know. I'm trying to leave that for my wife to do, but we'll see if I can pull that off. That'll be a magic man moment if I can do that.
Well, you will be missed for sure. As I said in my, we've been together 7 years.
Yeah.
I've only been here 1 year longer than you have. So, as I said in my letter, probably one of the proudest things I did in my tenure on the board was hire you. Because I think it's been one of the best accomplishments, because you've taken this district where it needed to go. So,
Thank you.
I wish you all the best. I did research Windsor Severance.
Yeah.
It's about the same size town. They've got a fire district and elected officials, so I'm looking at moving there. Get on the fire board.
Part of my reason to leave, I told you, if you don't stay, I'm going with you. I told you that. You don't remember that, but I told you, if you don't run again, I'm leaving then. And you thought I might have been kidding, and I probably was then, but maybe watch out what you say. So, but we'll get you over there. It's a cool place.
You're going to be successful wherever you go.
So it's a really good organization. So just like coming here, I felt really good about coming here. I feel really good about leaving here because it's in good shape, and I feel really good about going to the next place because it's really good too. So it's nice to be able to control a little bit of your destiny once in a while.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but I'll give him a round of applause.
That was a resounding clap by all. No, just resounding. It was deafening. Go with deafening. I'm cutting all these articles out and bringing them to Windsor. I'm just like, this is what- So the second part of that agenda item, Mr. Chair, is just a direction from staff in the recruitment process. So we've been in talks, obviously, since we knew that this was a possibility. We've not done extensive, work to this because we didn't know if it was going to happen, didn't want to waste our time, and we're pretty busy doing the rest of our days. But since last Thursday, we knew this was happening, and we've been kind of beginning to ramp up in the background our thoughts and getting them kind of moving. So what I wanted to wait for was tonight to get some direction from you as a board. You as the board do hire the fire chief, obviously, right? And so we didn't want to be presumptuous and start any actions until you kind of let us know what you want us to do. Certainly, I believe Mr. Whittington would probably tell you have the right to control the whole process, run the thing, or do whatever you want to do if you think that's what you want to do. And I bet staff would say, okay, if that's what you want, good luck. But that is probably within your purview. Staff is prepared and ready to help out and do as much legwork as you'd like. And we just want to know what kind of parameters you're looking at. And Heidi, you got a whole list of things to talk about? Or you want me to speak?
No list of things to talk about.
Okay. Our recommendation at this point is to take the next month before the December board meeting and work on a job announcement, work on a timeline. With the holiday coming, I think it's foolish to try to find the right person who might be looking at the holiday time. Just kick this off in January after the dust settles for everybody. We're in loose things. We're thinking, 4 or 5 week open application periods. So that puts you into February. Maybe have a process if we've got the dates and everything picked out in late February. Kind of beat that spring break type rush, and then be interviewing at that February. And hopefully, you're finding a candidate in February, and they can start in the late March, early April. Maybe late April if he's got a 60-day notification period that he'd like to honor. And staff's in really good shape. Staff is not really worried that we're going to be rudderless here. We're going to recommend that Assistant Chief Coyle step into the interim fire chief role. I think that's wise. He's got the skill, talent, and interest to step into that role. Rather than trying to bring someone in from the outside or something, that's just too much work. And we got the talent. If we didn't have the talent, that's another story. But we've got the talent. Our battalion chiefs are ready to step up and pick up all the pieces. They've already had a conversation, I believe, about a few of the loose ends that we would need to do. I'm not sure that we would backfill the interim assistant chief position. I think Jason said they'd probably just run with that. Now, would that mean that we might bring some battalion chiefs back in some overtime roles to help work some days on their off days or something to help do some project work and things like that. But would still be cheaper than what we're doing to hire someone or bring somebody up and roll everything up and everything. So,
Chris, if I'm, Chief,
Please.
if I'm hearing that correctly, you're saying that Chief Coyle is thankfully interested in stepping up and functioning as acting fire chief, but he's also going to be functioning as assistant chief of operations, or am I hearing it wrong?
no,
'Cause
that
that's
he
a
would do
lot.
both. Correct.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, but the
And it's
battalion chiefs, I
also-
believe, are ready. If I can speak for you guys, I thought that's what he had told me. And so instead of bringing, if we brought Jordan up, who's actually a captain acting up in the battalion chief role right now in place of Jason Coyle, you have Buzz and Dave, and both of them are really not interested in going to days. So we're either going to force somebody to do something they don't want to do, or, like I said, we say, hey, listen, here's a project you're working on, and if we need to give you 10 hours this week or whatever in overtime to come in and do it and finish that up or do those things. And Jason's, we've had very loose conversations. This could change, but between me gone last week and now him gone for the holiday this week, we haven't had a great connection. But as I understand it, he did say that he didn't think we needed to backfill that for this short term. So a little bit of work, but with the help and support, I think we're not in bad shape. And the alternatives, so the fire marshal will pick up some work. you know, Heidi's gonna pick up some work. Gabe might pick up some work. So that's the plan there. You got a question?
Chief, I just wanted to double check here, or actually for Bill. Is an official recognition of his resignation, is a motion needed to accept his resignation? If that was what you gave me.
Hang on a minute now, just,
No, I just,
I got a board meeting with the other people at 7 o'clock, so it could change.
You could say no to it.
we could, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's traditional,
mhm,
but not required by law.
okay.
So I could bring that, could like write an official letter of resignation, like at the next board meeting or something. You know it's coming. I mean, there's not
Well,
any
it's,
surprise here.
it's coming, and I think you're announcing of it today is,
Mhm.
would suffice for that, and it's, so I will go ahead and make that.
Are we okay with a motion based upon, yeah, I guess there's action on there. I guess yeah, it'll work.
It's,
Yes,
possible action.
yeah, and you can talk about the recruitment
Sure,
process
that's
tonight
coming
if
up
you
next.
wish as well.
Right, so if I can make the motion to accept your resignation from the Sedona Fire District to the new fire district as of January the 14th, correct?
The 11th.
The 11th,
The 11th.
January 11th, okay. That being the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in
Yeah,
favor?
that's scary.
Aye. Any opposed? Chief, we accept your resignation.
That was not on the radar, just so you know.
Yeah.
They threw me
Uh,
out. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
You're gone.
So we just, so we know that we're all on the right path and everything's being
Certainly.
covered.
Certainly.
Secondly, direction to staff to proceed with the search for a new fire chief on the loose timetables as you described. It should start. And I think it
Certainly.
should start as of Monday morning.
Yeah, it's certainly already started. I mean, we're
It's
already there.
already
We just
started.
didn't want to be
Yeah.
presumptuous on what that was and what it looked like, and so we
And
just want to
I'd
get
like to
direction.
ask the board if there's be anything else that you would like to ask in that request to start the process.
Well, I have a question. You mentioned Chief Coyle. He's out of town now?
Yes, he's visiting
Okay,
family for
and My
Thanksgiving.
question, I guess, is that he's said, yes, I will serve in the interim position
Correct.
until either he or someone else is selected. Is that right?
Correct. Staff, we've talked already, so if he is interested in actually applying for the position, that would require us to not have him participate in any of the procedural pieces in the setup, just to make sure we keep that clean. So there will be, Heidi's working on just some verification whether or not he will intend to submit or not. And if so, then that will remove him from some of the procedural pieces to make it fair for all
So are you saying
involved.
we don't know that yet, or we do know that?
Heidi's gonna tell you what she
Very good.
knows. She's our,
Uh-huh.
He has not declared he would like to reserve the option if he were to decide to apply for that position. So he will use caution in his advisement of the process, and he will certainly remove himself from the process before we get to anything specific.
Okay. Okay, so we've got direction to you, Chief, to start the process.
yes,
And in starting that process, how will the board get involved in setting some of the criteria as you put out the job description and also requirements to be met to apply for the job? How do we get included in that process?
So first of all, I would say that there's a fairly standard set of best practices that I've seen on pretty much all of the fire chief job descriptions and minimum and preferred and required type requirements. So there's a pretty good template out there. My expectation is that we will draft up a proposed job announcement that you will get to look at and review and provide feedback to us on that at the December meeting is the plan, and so that we can meet any of your objectives that you may have. And I know,
Would
you
it
know,
be helpful to have that input before that meeting? from-
certainly if you have
there's
any,
certain pieces that,
Yeah, certainly, if you have anything that you believe is
Yes.
important, I would say you can either tell us now, or you can
Uh-huh.
get us offline and just kind of hit us something that I think is really important. You know, I think the
Yes.
residency piece is certainly a,
residency piece
is
in
a
the
question
district.
that the board needs to answer. Do you know, do you require the fire chief to live in the district? I personally like to live in the fire district. It means a lot on a lot of levels, and I find it to be very beneficial when I talk to people that I live here and pay taxes here, just like they do. That doesn't mean there's many fire chiefs who do not live in the district that they live in, and their districts are fine with it. So that is an open-ended question, whether or not, I think it's non-negotiable in my mind that a master's degree is where it needs to be at a minimum. You know, the executive fire officer, chief officer designations, things like that are, you know,
And
there's some.
could you explain that one a little more, because, you know, I've had an interest in having somebody with fire chief experience.
Okay.
But you're using the word fire officer, so what level of officers would that include?
So chief fire officer is a designation
Uh-huh.
by the people that do the accreditation, the Center for Public Safety Excellence. So, it is a
that
benchmark to know that you're
ECs?
doing the training and the education and community involvement and things. So every 3 years you get credentialed as that. So that's not you have to be a chief officer to get that, any level, but a chief officer. I would say that if you were interested in having someone who was a fire chief somewhere else, I'm not sure that would be a requirement that I would say is a best practice that I see. Having 5 years, 10 years of chief officer level of a progressive fire district or a fire agency, those are the type of words that I see that you would typically find in there. You could prefer having fire chief experience. I would not make it a mandatory, because that eliminates a whole lot of people, and to be honest with you, you're someone else that's getting, you know, recycled, and I'm a good example of that. Is it for other reasons, or is it because, you know, I don't have a job anymore because I wasn't welcome where I was at? Versus where I came here to Sedona, where I was looking to take the next step and promote and create that. And if you required that, I wouldn't have been able to apply here. And good, bad, or indifferent of my outcome, if you made that no one would ever become a fire chief or get there at some point, because if everyone started requiring that, you would never be able to get to be a fire chief. You know, you had fire chief experience, right? So through the testing process and through the assessment center, you would find very quickly the person who is ready and capable and able for this organization, whether they've served as a fire chief or not. I would say that having a requirement that they have a fire district or a special district background is really important, because being a fire chief of a district and a fire chief of a municipality are I shouldn't say completely different, but they are completely different in what the things they know and they do. And so for me, like, I would never apply to be a fire chief of a department, even though it's probably much easier for me to go to become a department chief, because I would report to a city manager, not a board, and they have an HR department and all those other pieces. In a fire district, I think it's very hard for a fire department chief to become a fire district chief, unless they've engaged themselves in it. I mean, it can be done, it's just, it's harder. So, but I wouldn't want to limit that either. It'd be a preference to say, we prefer fire district experience. I wouldn't get too worried that, I mean, like I said, the standard package is pretty, it's pretty much out there. The language is there in most job descriptions that I've seen, and a couple nuances here and there that are sometimes interesting, but for the most part are about the same on
Well,
everything.
What I'm thinking then, I'm wondering, Chair Soto, would it be helpful for us to have that boilerplate beforehand?
Oh, you'll definitely get the boilerplate before
Great.
the meeting, so you'll be able to make some comments, and there's no hidden secrets there or anything like that. Legal counsel, maybe you can advise, if the fire board wanted to go into exec session and talk about the process or the question number 1 and number 2, how would that work in executive session? That would not be,
Legal advice.
what, I could legally ask you, can I ask this question, I guess, and that's how we'd.
Yeah, or in the past, administration has put together a set of recommended questions and recommended process,
Right.
and then submit it to the board so that they can ask questions about the process of me. Otherwise, it has to be dealt with in public session.
So, so that's why if you have when we get this piece and we start sharing some of the processes with you, you can let staff know if you've got a significant concern about something. But again, I will tell you, short of wanting to do something because it's your special thing you like to see or want to see something, whatever that may be, we did a really nice process to get Assistant Chief Pichura here. I don't think we would use the exact same process. You may be looking for different characteristics in a fire chief than the assistant fire chief. But we have that experience. I think it's really important that we have involvement in our organization. Bringing me on board, there was no involvement by the organization, to my understanding. And it wasn't fun, not meeting the people, I demanded to come back to that table over there and sit and have my Jerry Maguire speech, I call it. I said, you gotta fly me back out. I'm not taking this job until I get to talk to the people and meet Tricia at the time and get to see the firefighters. I couldn't even see them, I wasn't invited to come, that was a big mistake. It was a mistake, it was what it was, but I wouldn't do that again. So they have to have some involvement, but at the end of the day, you're the board and you get to make the hiring selection because it's your employee. But I think the operations folks and the admin folks want and should have a part of the process. I think the community should be involved in that process. Interesting enough, I'll tell you that I did 2 board meetings in public session, interviews in public session. That was really interesting. One was attended by the public, about 70-some people were there, and then, you're getting asked questions and everyone's out there. It was an interesting thing, but people got to see what that was. I have no idea how much weight was on that. If one of the citizens, I didn't like them, does that mean I didn't get the job? But they had each citizen got a card with, a scorecard or some comments that what you saw, liked. I think that's pretty cool. And that's, I think the next level where we haven't gone to in this organization. We did bring public into our assistant chief process, but it was probably valuable to see that interaction and put people in the seat when you got to ask some questions and see how you react and work in the public. And probably based upon my skill set and working at the public, there's a high expectation. Probably the next person's going to come in and be in the community as much as I was. And I don't know if that's realistic, to be honest with you, but you're going to have to find where that sweet spot is. And you won't be able to grade somebody and say, well, he's not like Chris. That's not what you're grading against me. You're grading on a fire chief for the Sedona Fire District. And this is the skill sets that we want him or her to have and find that. But maybe there's a little, we're in the community, we're expected to do that. We need to have some testing that does that. And that is where if you have an interest, either now or at December's meeting, you could, think about these things. And so at the December meeting, we won't have the process all lock, stock, and barrel done because that's not happening until February. So we'll be getting the job announcement, will be December. We might talk about the process in December, but so we got another month to go to get into the kind of finite details, but we'll have a shell of what we're trying to do and what we're going to accomplish. And you like that, or go back to the drawing board, we'll make that happen. But I'm pretty confident that we've got this.
Well, we have a talented staff,
Very talented.
and we have a good board here, and so the combination of our staff and the board working together and what have you, it'll happen.
So Chief, just to summarize then, again, the direction to you would be then to initiate the formal process and then to include your staff, community, outside agencies, whatever it takes to put together your package so that we can move forward with the selection process.
Correct.
That,
With the time frame that we're talking about, is okay with you guys? I want to make sure that was good. I want to make sure.
I don't want to go stretch any longer.
I don't think you can do it any faster.
Well, I don't think we do any faster. I mean, we didn't have the holiday in there. I think we could speed it up a little bit, but the holiday it loses focus on what people are looking for and doing, and we might lose some talent that just missed an announcement because they were busy with family and stuff. The other piece I didn't talk about was outside support. So we have some ability to consider using some HR firms that do this type of fire chief recruitment process, and whether they're doing the full process or helping us with some of these pieces. We'll have some advertising expenses, things like that. So we'll work on that unless one of you has a burning desire one way or the other. We're on the fence as to where and how we want to do. I think we're all in agreement, at least now, that we're not necessarily interested in giving the whole process to an HR firm and let them do the whole thing. I don't know that isn't remotely like terribly expensive. Like it's not that it's too expensive. I just think we will get the same or possibly less than what we would get if we did the process. That doesn't mean that we're experts at it, and that we may not engage or recommend that we engage with some external folks to assist in whatever that may be, whether it's collecting the resumes and helping whittle through resumes, you know.
The only place I could see a use for an outside agency is with an internal candidate. So again, as you were saying, Jason has to be somewhat removed from the process to be considered an unbiased candidate, or however we want to say that. So if along the way, if there's a part of the process that you can outsource that makes it easier for him,
Correct.
or any internal candidate that would like to apply.
Correct.
Okay, any other input on that from anyone? Chief, I think we're done with that. I think we're done with that one.
The only other last piece that I think is important that, is that getting the 2 new board members seated, obviously, is also very important. So they'll be on the board for the next 4 years, and having them in this process as well.
Right.
And so they'll be at the December meeting as well. And we'll look, if you have any comments, certainly you know where to find us. And please, you can reach out to me as well if you got any insights as we go forward or something ring in your head. But you'll be well seated before this thing really launches. So don't feel like for the next couple days you're missing out on too much. But happy to hear from you if you got anything.
So in closing on that topic, I just wanted to say that this is not the norm. This is as unusual as it gets to have a chief on the outgoing. We have 2 board members going out. We have 2 new board members coming in, or 3 actually, but Gene's incumbent. And so this is not the normal activity that we would normally see. So, Chief, I just want to tell you that it's been a great 3 years for me, getting to know you and how you manage. I think you manage your district as it's about as best as you can get a district run at this size with the community makeup that we have. You've done an outstanding job, and I truly appreciate it. It's always bittersweet when you see someone do the job that they've done, only to well, as you know, as a company officer, you always try to build your company, you try to build your district, get the best people you can, all the while knowing that you have an obligation to send them somewhere else where they need more experience. Not that you need more experience, but to allow you to go out and grow and do what you enjoy doing is that bittersweet part, because you're leaving us. But it's that department's, they benefit from that, and they're going to get a great officer, great fire chief, and we wish you the best.
Certainly.
So-
I think Jordan said it today well. He said, I think we're in one of the best positions we've been in his 18-year career, I believe is what you said to me. So coming from the floor and,
Yeah.
a
Come from all sides.
tough cookie, if I can say that, his vote of approval that we're in a good spot, that means a lot to me and to the
Yep.
organization, and should to you as well as the board.
It
So
does,
thank you.
both from labor and from the board. I think and staff. I think we're going to miss you without a doubt. So
Thank you.
but, good luck to you. Okay, moving on. We have discussion possible action on policy regarding courtesy quorum announcements for the board. And
Oops, sorry.
anyway, the next item up is the courtesy quorum announcement. And last meeting, we had asked that we put together a courtesy agenda, if you will, I think is what it was called. So
Courtesy notice?
courtesy,
Policy, yeah.
yeah, a courtesy agenda policy. What is the actual wordage of that?
Policy.
So it's a courtesy notice of a possible quorum.
Okay,
And so we've added to the board handbook to kind of proceduralize that, because it would be hit or miss. If we had SFD activities going on like the open house or that sort of thing, and more than, a quorum would actually show up for that, we want to post that for, the public to be aware that board members would be there, but not discussing board
Business.
business.
Okay, just for the public's information, anytime you have a quorum, which is 3 or more, it essentially establishes an open meeting, basically, where the perception of business is being discussed. And all we're saying is that if we were to go to a gathering where there was 3 or more of us, just as a social event, business was not going to be conducted, then we would post it on a courtesy notice indicating that. So that phraseology, I think, Bill, you just reviewed, would go into the book, into our manual, and then be part of that book.
You would, I have one suggestion, if it matters.
Good to read it.
Okay.
The courtesy notice language is excellent. I would just suggest that you don't always publish, sometimes you simply post.
Okay.
And so I would change the word publish 24 hours to post 24 hours, so you can decide when and where to post. Otherwise, somebody might think that publish means you have to go to the newspaper. Certainly not the case.
So just a post.
Yeah.
With that, Corey, would you mind reading that for us as it's written?
I'd be pleased to. So this is the courtesy notices addition to the board policy. When board members plan to attend an event, whether private or public, and there is the potential of a quorum, a courtesy notice may be posted. The board members shall not discuss any business or make any decisions, as this will be in violation of the open meeting law. The notice will provide the date, time, and location of the event and indicate that no Sedona Fire District business shall be discussed. When possible, this notice will be posted 24 hours prior to the event.
Okay. With that, is that a motion that needs to be made to approve that?
Yes.
Okay, so would you like to go ahead and do the motion on that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I move to approve the addition of the courtesy notice for potential quorums into, to the addition of it into our board policy manual.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
So-
opposed?
So, Mr. Chair,
The motion be made with that correction of post as opposed to
publish.
publish.
So Board Chair Solomon, Soto, I just want to make sure, so the courtesy notice is really just in the transparency, so if 3 of you happen to go to the same baseball game, and all sit next to each other, like, we're just trying to say, hey, you might see 3 of them together, but we're not talking about business. And we're telling you that if you did talk about business, you'd be violating the open meeting law. So it's a
Right.
notice to you and it's a notice to the public. It's a courtesy, it's not required, but as a board, you've asked that we do this every time because it has been hit or miss. So if at any point in time, there's an opportunity that we may not know that you're all 3 gonna be going to some meeting or something going on, that you need to let Carrie know.
Mhm.
You need to let Heidi know if Carrie's not around, let the chief know, whatever, so we can get that posted. But if 3 of you all play on the same softball team, you can do that. There's not a matter of putting 3 of you in the same room that you can't do. It's just the perception of that could be, or the ability to maybe want to migrate to, oh man, do you see that fire chief candidate we got? I think that's gonna be a really good candidate for us. You have that urge or potential to do that. And that's the danger when you put more than that many people together. So we post that notice to say, hey, don't forget, you can't talk about business. And public, if you see them talk about business, you ought to tell someone, because that's not cool. But if you're all having a glass of wine talking about, the crazy football game that was on last night, and you say the word Chiefs, right? Someone might say, oh gosh, look at that, they were talking about the chief, That's the danger you can have. And so you got to decide when you put yourself into those circumstances and when you don't, and the value of that. But I certainly just want to make sure a lot of people believe, like, I can't go anywhere because there'll be 3 of us there. You can totally do that. You can even be at a fire department like the open house. You just can't talk about board business
Gotcha.
with more than 3 of you there.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the Discussion possible action approving the results of the canvass for the November 6, 2018 election.
So board, a requirement is that we do canvass the election between 6 and 20 days, I believe it is, from the time of the election. We just received these canvassing from the county. I will turn it over to the legal advice, who's already got one home run of the day. You got one dinger. You got another one for us? So give us what you got there, Bill.
I've earned my keep so far. Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, at the end of the day, have you seen the result of canvass from the county?
Yes.
Yeah, it's incumbent on the board to approve it and certify the findings of the election. So I'd recommend you entertain a motion to accept the canvass of the election as received from the county elections department and certify the election of Al Camello, Gene McCarthy, and Joy Moore. If you'll entertain a motion to that effect, put it on the record, then it can be transmitted to the county.
Okay, I will move to approve the canvass of election and to certify the results pursuant to ARS 16642 and 16643 as presented. And would you like me to actually read it, or that was it, what you just said?
What I just said is fine.
Okay.
I don't have that in front of me, so
Gotcha.
I winged it.
Okay. With that being
Trying to
the,
hit a home run.
gotcha. With that being the,
You surround the bases from the first time.
it,
You do have to read that.
okay, it does ask that I do read this out loud, so,
Go ahead.
okay. Pursuant to ARS, Arizona Revised Statute 16646, the governing board of the Sedona Fire District canvasses the results of the district's election for 3 board members held on November 6th, 2018, and will vote to approve the results of the election, which were verified as of November 19th, 2018. Total votes cast from both Yavapai and Coconino counties for Sedona Fire District election were 20,407. The number of votes for the candidates is as follows. Al Camello, 4,711. Gene McCarthy, 4,689. Joy Moore, 3,354. Russell Damari, 2,663. Charles Schroeder, 2,523. Dwight Kadar, 2,393. And write-in, 77. Certification of election results were signed by the Yavapai County Recorder Leslie M. Hoffman and Elections Director Lynn A. Constable on the 16th day of November 2018. Therefore, the motion is on the floor to approve the canvass. Do I have a second? Second?
2 outgoing board members.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I want to get through this meeting. Do I have any further discussions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, the canvass is approved. Okay. That was a long one. Okay, next up is discussion on newly elected board members' mandatory training requirements, November the 30th.
Okay, board, so the requirements are, now that we've canvassed the election and done the things we've done, a couple things happen between now and then. Board members need to do the omnibus open meeting law. It's a PowerPoint you read and look at and do. It's you certify. Carrie's got the documentation for that, that you've done that. You have to do that at least 24 hours before you can be sworn in. Technically, I believe the board members that are outgoing are on the board until the 30th of November, if I understand that correctly. So new board members don't take effect till December 1st by statute. By statute, you must, I should be talking to you guys over here, and you too, Jane, but by statute, you have to actually take a mandatory class through the Arizona Fire District Association every time you're elected. So Gene, who just did it 10 months ago or so, or whatever that was,
Or less.
has to go do it again. That's what the law says. And it's a requirement, and some very, very, very high-level instructors teach that class.
Although,
Another home run.
Another home run. They talk about finance, they talk about legal, they talk about open meeting laws and
Board ethics,
board ethics, and that might be one other class, or just the 4, I can't remember.
finance, ethics, board roles and responsibilities,
There you
open meeting law.
So, so that class is being offered November 30th. I believe Carrie sent you both, or all three of you, an email. So if you've gotten back to her, if not, please do. We reserve some seats in that class. It's being held in Phoenix. So as a board member, we cover your expenses going down there if you need any expenses taken care of. That is also as part of the state statute that we do and can pay for those expenses incurred for that mandatory training. You will need to take an oath of office. Again, it has to be at least 24 hours after doing that open meeting law training. We could do that in our office anytime after you've done that and after December 1st, on or after December 1st. Or we can do it at the upcoming board meeting, either which way you'd like. But those are all the technical pieces, I believe, that I'm remembering and know about. Is there something else I missed, Bill?
Just a little twist, they've changed the statute now. New board members have to sign their oath of office any time before being seated. You could literally sign it the day of the next board meeting, or just, moments before the board meeting. But the open meeting law training you have to do online is a full day before. So get that open meeting training done. I'm talking about just the stuff online. And then you can sign your oath of office anytime. The actual swearing in ceremony is purely that, just ceremonial. But it's common, you've done it in the past. The 6-hour training that the chief is talking about that we do in Laughlin every year is in addition to that. So you have to do the online stuff and the 6 hours where you actually go someplace physically and do it. That aside, you can sign your oath of office anytime before you're seated at the next meeting.
Do we have to go to the river?
Well, you have to go get the training, that happens to be where they do it.
I'm just kidding.
So-
Take your fishing pole.
I will,
But
that's my
don't they,
plan.
maybe things have changed, but don't they have a choice between that and going to Laughlin in January where they take Fire 101?
That is one, the 6 hours is Laughlin.
Okay, that's what you're
That's
talking.
in addition to the online.
Okay, there was something in Phoenix. that was brought up.
November 30th, there is a training November 30th, so you can go to that instead, or there is an online also option.
Yeah.
Laughlin's beautiful, highly recommend it in January, just saying. I'm really bummed, I had my choice when I was gonna start. I happened to pick
Right, but
the week you're going to
I think
Laughlin.
the one in Phoenix is just the.
It's at a bank.
No, the one in Phoenix is the
it's not
full
the
6 hours.
6 hour.
It's not full 6 hours, but it's abbreviated, but it covers all those topics.
It meets the standard of the law, you're gonna meet your training to go to that one.
Not all 6 hours, though.
Oh, then we got a conflict then, that's not what AFTA's saying. So, we'll find out, but our understanding is that is the required training for newly elected board members. I'm actually pretty sure that might be taking one home run off the board, sir.
It might be, only might be a double. Let me put it this way.
I'm gonna miss you, man.
Normally, I provide 4.5 hours, 5 hours of training in Laughlin. I'm going to provide 2 hours, and maybe what they're doing is using something else to fill that other 4 hours. So if they're gonna do 6 hours, it's because they moved things around, and I just assumed that meant they were gonna go short on their hours. Chief, you may be right about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that the AFTA flyer, and Carrie's looking it up, and we did send you the flyer as well. I think it did say this is the mandatory training, and so we'll confirm that, and if it's not, I'm not saying don't waste your time, but
Do I have this straight, that the online, which is a requirement before you can be sworn in, we can do online,
you have to do that online.
and then take the test, that the online,
It's just an oath, you just gotta
There's
sign
no
something.
test.
Just sign something. The test is, can you sign your name that said you actually did it? That's the test, so that's easy to
and
pass.
the 6 hours can be taken or attended in Laughlin.
Laughlin, online, there's a different online, this is a different online, there's a curriculum that's online that you can do that, or we believe, in deference to our attorney, that you can take the class in a class in there, but we're finding out.
So it's right here.
Give it to Bill, see what he says, we gotta.
This is what they say, and then we can open it for more information.
Oh, it does say complete, you're right. Okay. Yeah, they're offering all 6 hours there.
I was gonna do a victory lap there for a second, but I thought my back's hurting, so.
That's just a pop fly in my.
It was to the track, there was a guy at the track, back against the ivy.
So Chief, can you just clarify it finally on what is required for that. I'm confused and I don't have to go.
Okay, I'm gonna start from the beginning. You have to take an online open meetings law. It's a PowerPoint, takes you not very long, it's, I mean, an hour maybe. You have to do that. You have to do that 24 hours in advance of signing your oath of office. You have to sign an oath of office. Within 12 months of being elected, you must take the most exciting class about fire district board member operations, either in Phoenix now, November 30th happens to be a class, or in Laughlin, or online. Same information, 3 different places, your choice. You complete all that. You show up here on December 18th or something, and we hang out, sit up front there, and we have a ton of fun. And that's about it, I think, in a nutshell. That
Okay.
maybe make it more clear?
I think we got it. And then if you have questions, give
Any
Carrie a
questions,
call.
give Carrie a
That's
call.
what I understood, so
Okay.
I'm straight.
Straight.
Got it?
I'll send you an email too, and abbreviated one, step by step, which one to do.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have next up on the agenda is a special recognition of Fire Board members Ty Montgomery and Abe Konyarski for their dedicated service to the Sedona Fire District. Chief?
Well, as I stated earlier, I'll start with Ty. I really appreciate, my first time getting to know you besides watching you on those cool videos I watched before I came here. Wow, those rooms were packed with people and police officers in the back and contentious everything. Kind of crazy. We've come a long way in 7 years. You sat at the helm as the board chair for a good chunk of those 7 years you've been here, probably 6 of them, I bet, 5.5, 6 of them, something like that. Went through that recall election, Morden Fire Station number 6 to be built, and all the other cool stuff, and I'm not gonna go through all your accolades, but there's a ton of them. You've been involved as a chair. For me as a boss, my main boss, all 5 of you are my boss. You 2 are my next bosses out here. You're my main person, and it was always great to give you a call and get your opinion on things. And while we didn't always have the same opinion or idea, your approach and vision of how things should look like from the board chair, and whether we went your way or you said you'll give me leeway on this one, but see how it goes type of thing. Always done with considerable professionalism, interest in the community, interest in my safety and well-being many times. Slow down, it's okay, we'll get there. That's just my style, probably still gonna be that way for 20 more years, but anyway. It's when you said you weren't gonna run, I was in a board meeting here, we talked about it numerous times leading up to that. I just kept telling myself, he's just kidding himself, he's really gonna run. Talked to your mom actually a couple times, that's always a good sign to try to get him to run again. His mom said, I'm not in charge of him anymore. When you said at the board meeting, way earlier than I expected, I was, well, he's gone, and that was a public statement in a board meeting. It's not going to happen, and it was a sad day for me. And so, really do appreciate the leadership, trust that you've given me to lead the organization, and the flight path of our organization has a lot to do with your passion and dedication to excellence and public safety and to our community. And you stood up, you put up and stood up, but you put up with 2 years, I would say, of challenging, a year and a half, I'm not gonna give you that much credit. I think it was about a year and a half technically, I'm gonna go by that. Yeah, most people don't stay through that, but you did for our community, and I think you deserve a statue for that. So the fire district, the firefighters, I think would all say the same thing. You were steadfast, and we're here today because of the work you did and the standing up you did, and would have been much easier to quit. So that's all I have for Ty right now off the top of my head. I didn't prepare that, and so I'll just go with that. Hopefully it sounded good. Dave, you want me to hit Abe next, or you want me to?
Sure, go ahead.
Abe, you were there in all those meetings too. And when I came on board, I remember when you said, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm a city manager kind of guy, finance guy, HR kind of guy from around the world here, but mostly California, and just soft-spoken, and you had this ability about yourself. And I said, I think I got to listen to this guy. Didn't know you were gonna be my boss ever, for that matter. But I think it's when you meet people, you know the ones you got to listen to and the ones you don't have to pay attention to. I knew right away I had to pay attention to you, and you had some good stuff to say, and we had lots of sandwiches over there at Westside Deli. Here's what I'm hearing, Chris. Here's what's going on. What do you think about this? In a very soft, subtle way. And I often left the meetings going, what did he say? Oh, yeah. I think I better look at this, or let me think about that in a different way. Not always in the meeting, but many times after the meeting. And it stuck with me, and a lot of things we talked about really stuck. Sad we don't see Eileen and the dog here today. Would love to have seen her. We'd definitely welcome you to come back at any time and bring cookies. You're welcome too, Ty, but you never brought cookies. So come on by anytime. You're welcome. I hope that we don't need you to come back to all those meetings that you showed up for because you were fighting for the folks. I hope we have a good direction that this organization's going. And while you have not served on the board as long as Ty, I think you've been involved in the community for longer. I know that you actually were there and were part of getting Ty to actually run for the board. So I probably should, definitely make sure we note that you were doing some work behind the scenes and have done great things for our community well before sitting in the seat. And I'm going to ask you both back for your rubber stamps when we're done, because I need to get those back. I appreciate the hard work you've done. You tested me, both of you, all five of you for that matter, have tested me and have done a lot of work. And so anyone that thinks that you guys just come here and listen to me, well, you do listen to me because I'm talking all the time. But you all challenge me incredibly, all of you, but you two specifically, for different ways and where you come from and what you do. And never once have I ever taken an opportunity to think that I had the ability to do whatever I wanted in this organization. I'm accountable to you, and you're accountable to the people, and I think we all know our roles well. And you've challenged many, many things that I thought were the right thing to do, and we didn't go that direction. And whether it was publicly or outside of the public, thank you. You've both helped me grow immensely. I'm going to miss you both dearly.
Thank you, Chief. Corey or Gene, would you like to comment on towards Ty or Abe?
You know, coming on to the board and what have you, you need mentors. And it's the learning curve is like this. You don't just walk in and keep the chair warm. We have people here that have reached out to me, and thank you very much for your service here to the community, largely the community you represented. And Abe, good friend Abe, I always enjoy your greeting when you come in and so on. And thank you for your service, Abe. Appreciate it.
Corey?
Well, I'm sad to see both of you go, but I know there's the right time for all things. Ty, you were a mentor to me for quite a few years with my role as clerk and yours as chair. And I appreciated those words that you used, Chief, of professionalism, steadfastness, feet on the ground, grounded thinking. So very much appreciated. And I sure appreciated that you hung in there during the first difficult years.
Wow.
It was heroic. So thank you. And, Abe, you were so supportive of my running for the fire board, and had confidence in me that I didn't have. And you've just been such a long-time supporter of the fire district, wanting the very best for our community of our emergency services. So I thank you for your service.
Thank you. I guess I'll finish up with the points from my point of view. As a new board member 3 years ago, you definitely need that mentor. And Ty, you were the chair at the time, and being a new member on a board, you were bigger than life actually, because you ran the show with an iron fist. You really did. I mean, not that it was your way or the highway, just the fact that things go a certain way. And I watched every move, every word you said, just put it in the back of my mind for somewhere down the road. And that day finally came about 6 months ago already. And you've made the transition for me much easier. Not any less scary, but much easier. And I thank you for that. And the way you handled yourself throughout those 2.5 years was nothing less than professional. And it's something that I looked up to every single day, and I thank you for that, for your service. Abe, 2 years ago, you came on board, ever the soft-spoken individual. As the chief described, the person that you should listen to. What is it that you're really saying? Looking between the lines, reading between the lines. Your involvement with the board that was recalled years ago was instrumental in changing the direction of this board and the fire district, and we thank you for that. So with those things together, I find myself in a unique position where it's like everybody's leaving, you know, but you're not. I mean, we're not. We have a core here that you guys have assisted in developing with Corey, myself, and now Gene, and 2 new members, one of which, Joy, you've been on the board before, so you're bringing some experience onto the board. And Al, your commitment to this new position based on everything you've done in our community is something that we're looking forward to and need. So we're going to build on what we have set the foundation on, and we've got some new sites in store that all within the realm of doing what's good for the community and for our fire district, keeping the boys safe out there. So with that said, I want to say thank you to both of you guys, and you're going to be missed. And at the conclusion of the meeting, we have a little special cake and soft drinks over there, I think, or something to drink. So thank you very much.
We do have open seating on the, in the audience there on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. You're always welcome to come back. We'd love to have you. I do want to share, as we've done now for a while, we've got a beautiful patio outside in the front walkway there. We've got 2 bricks, matching bricks. So there's, yours are in the ground already out there. Take that home and put it somewhere, I don't know. So we know if you can help carry it out. Ty, there you go, and yours is probably put in there. So C-Shift put them in this afternoon, and so we appreciate that.
Thank you, Chief. Thank the boys. Thank the district for this, or on behalf of those, our 2 leaving members, our 2 members leaving. So, okay. Would you guys like to have any words? Last word.
The last word.
I think Abe has the last word back there.
I just want to say that it was an honor and a privilege to be a member of this board. You guys were great. Ty, it took me a long time to convince you to run, and I'm glad I convinced you many, many years ago. I enjoyed working with every staff member. They're very dedicated, very professional, and those of us living in the district are very fortunate to have people like that working for us, with us. And I want everybody to know that whatever you do is not gone unnoticed. Just keep up the good work. You're doing great. Thank you.
Thank you, Abe.
Well, it's hard to believe it's been 8 years, because I just feel like we just started this. I can't believe when we say it's been 7 years since you I can't believe that was 7 years ago. But the fact that it's been 8 years is a good reason to move on, kind of like what you're doing as well. You don't get progress without change, and so doing the same thing the same way all the time isn't going to get you anywhere. So it's time for some new minds to bring some new ideas and to take us into the future. I've been very blessed to work with everybody here. I've learned so much from all of you. I wrote a little email missive that'll go out, I think, in the next email blast that kind of rehashes everything I learned and took from all the things that we accomplished. So I just want to thank you all for the experiences and the education that I received, and I wish everyone the best.
Thank you. Chief, unless there is anything else
Okay.
with that,
Not with this, no. I think just welcome to our new board members here. We welcome you, and certainly if you have any needs, anything, you know, me or Carrie are really your point of contact, so please feel free to contact us if you need anything in the meantime, and we'll keep you busy after that. So all good stuff, and we got a really good organization you're walking into, so there's not a lot of broken things. It's but vision and ideas, we can always be better, and so.
And with that, Chief, do we have a fire marshal safety message for this evening?
We do. I'm going to play Fire Marshal Bill for the night. First, just board, the only, going forward in January, we have a January 15th meeting, I believe. Assistant Chief Coyle has a training that or a meeting he's supposed to be at. I will be gone. I would ask if it was available, if either of you as well could chime in, but if we could move the meeting to the 8th, that would help us, one, in that process. We've kind of been doing that recruitment and part of the fire chief. Bad? So the 15th is bad already, so moving it to the 8th is good for you.
Okay.
8th is fine. Any other issues by consensus, or smiles or nods, if anyone's got any big issues? We have a little issue with
I'm
the,
good with it.
you're good with it? Okay, I just make sure we'll get a seat for you. We'll get the nameplate. Yeah, Abe, you all right?
No problem.
We will have a problem with the finance, because we won't have finance report by the 10th. I'm not sure if Bill will be able to make it that day, and you have to look at your schedule and see if we move it to the 10th, but it looks like there is some, at least, ability to do that. And then it'll give me one more meeting, because I just love these meetings. And I might make Coyle do that. Maybe I'll just sit in the audience myself, make Coyle do it. It'll be a test run. I'm thinking the 8th. The 8th. So with that, you know, I'll go with the safety message. I was going to go a different direction, but it's Thanksgiving this week, right? We're all going to go home, cook our turkeys. Some people will deep fry our turkeys. Some people will have, you know, maybe all kinds of stuff cooking on the stove. Kitchen fires are number one cause of fires. And if you look at the statistics, and I didn't prepare them to tell you what they are, but they're pretty staggering on Thanksgiving. How many people have fires in their homes on Thanksgiving? You know, the deep frying the turkeys create considerable dangerous situations. Very tasty turkey and totally fine and safe if you do them safe. Right. But just realize as we all enjoy our time with our family and friends this great holiday, we just think about the safety that goes into that afternoon as you're cooking and enjoying all the fun times that people maybe have and be thankful for what we have. Be thankful for your safety, health, and wellness, and be thankful to live in this beautiful community. It is a beautiful place, and I hope that we can remember that and enjoy it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe.
Same to you. Meeting's adjourned.
Cake over here. Let's get a we need a picture of the couple board members too, right? Heidi, you're gonna take a picture of the two outgoing board members. We can say thanks.
All the best.
I like to call on you, right?
You can. I can talk to all of you now.
That's right. That's right. We don't have to,
Legally.
we don't have to get a courtesy note.